Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. Okay, so here we are for another week of questions. We've got some fantastic ones here and we've got loads. Okay, we've got lots to get through. So we're gonna sort of fire through these in a sort of rapid fire manner. We'll jump to them in just a second. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, you know, all the YouTube stuff. Most importantly though, shop at KendoStar.com. KendoStar.com is the best kendo equipment website in the known galaxy. And of course I'd say that because I own the place. Everyone agrees with me, so shop at KendoStar.com. You get the best kendo equipment going. We get to keep making these videos. Everyone's a winner. Apologies in advance if I'm sounding a little bit stuffy or bunged up or anything like that, like Kermit the Frog, whatever. I am on the sort of recovery end of a little cold that I've had. I think my daughter brought it home from school, something like that. So my voice does sound a little bit weird. But I'm sure you can tolerate it for the next however long. So like I said, we've got quite a lot of questions to get through here. We'll try and get through them as fast as we can. All right, let's go. Okay, first one. In a past video, you mentioned that Sensei don't always know bogu. I'm just now reaching the point where my Sensei said I'm ready for bogu and wants to buy it on my behalf. He quoted me a rather high price because he orders it from Japan. Would it be rude of me to order elsewhere instead, or should I at least order my first set through him? So there's a similar question to this a bit later on from someone else. I have mentioned before that Sensei don't always know bogu. Being a accomplished kendoka does not equal you know a lot about kendo bogu. They are separate things. There are hachidan senseis that don't really know that much about different bogu types and things like that, and seek the advice of professionals when it comes to getting their own. So it isn't the case that just because someone's a sensei, they know exactly what the best bogu is. Having said that, obviously if they do have a system in their dojo where, you normally buy through the sensei, it's not a good idea to just circumvent that. I think what you need to do is talk to your sensei and say, look, I've seen this particular set that I'm interested in. Is it all right for me to get that instead? Or would you prefer me to, go through you? And if so, is a sort of a similar type or something like that. Or I don't know, if you've got your heart set on something specific. Most of them aren't sort of compulsory, but it depends. It depends. It's a difficult one. I obviously prefer my students to buy through me, which is not just for the obvious reasons that I run KendoStar, but also because I then know for definite that what they're invested in is a good and safe bogu set, which can't necessarily be said for everywhere. So I think you need to chat it out with them, though. You need to chat it out with your sensei and say, look, I actually have my sort of mind onto this sort of bogu set. Is there a problem with me getting that? Okay. Hi, Fish Sensei. I have some questions regarding Jodan rules and learning recommendations. I recently swapped to play Jodan after 13 years of playing Chudan. I'm 4th Dan and have swapped to Jodan on advice from my senpai and sensei to help manage an elbow injury. I've recently seen a video of a Rokudan player from Japan that plays Jodan. What I found strange is that the player had no tsuba on their shinai. I always taken it as granted that the tsuba is a requirement. When I check the Shiai Shimpan rulebook, I can't see a specific rule that it's required. Is there a specific rule requiring the use of tsuba while using Jodan? Also, can you recommend any resources or videos for someone learning Jodan? I've been watching Chiba Sensei's video for a while now. Link to the video of the play without tsuba. Okay, so I saw that. And yeah, there is, that person, that video you linked to seemed to be of a Japanese person that was visiting a a place abroad, and perhaps didn't bring their own shinai or tsuba, I'd be very surprised if they don't always use a tsuba on their shinai, but the rules do actually require you to use a tsuba, and I'll tell you why that is and where that is in the rule book. I've got the rule book here. It says that I think it's on page 1. The specifications for the shinai referred to in Article 3 of the regulation shall be as follows. It will consist of 4 slats and should not include therein other objects other than the core inside the sakigawa and the chigiri at the end of the discard. The names of their respective parts of the shinai are indicated in figure 2. Specifications for the shinai are indicated in table 2 A and B, and the length therein, that's about the size, and the weight of it, inclusive of its accessories other than the tsuba. And then 3, the tsuba should be round in shape and made of leather or synthetic material. It should be 9 centimeters or smaller in diameter and be fixed onto the shinai. There you have it. Number 3 means you have to have a tsuba. The tsuba should be round and fixed to the shinai, is what it says. That means you have to have a tsuba, okay? You can't not have a tsuba. It is in the rules, okay? So there's the answer to that. About resources for learning Jodan. It's difficult. It's a lot of self-learning. Obviously, Chiba Sensei's videos are really good, and there's obviously a lot of really, really good players in Japan. I think you need to just look at really good players from Japan that do Jodan. None sort of come to mind right now. There's obviously one very famous one who got into a very controversial situation, so I don't really want to go down that route. But there are plenty of good Jodan players that you can look at from Japanese Shiai. Okay, next one. Hi, Andy Sensei. Can you tell us honestly, is there an unwritten rule in the Kendo world that if you buy the bogu from the Sensei's designated bogu vendor, the Sensei will get a percentage cut as commission of the amount of the students spent on the bogu? It's quite common with music teachers and instrument shops. So it's certainly not an unwritten rule, and I'd say it's pretty uncommon, but the system does exist. Either, as the previous person asked earlier on, some senseis prefer you to buy the bogu through them, or they'll ask you to buy with a registered supplier, a specific supplier, and that might be something that supplements their income. That isn't a particularly, I wouldn't say it's a common setup, but I wouldn't say it's unheard of either. So it could be the case. So that's why I'm saying you need to talk to your teacher if they're asking you to buy through a specific vendor or through them, because it might be that that's part of their business model for their dojo, which some people won't like. I don't personally have a particular problem with it, to be honest, but it is a model that exists, so you need to talk to them. But I wouldn't say it's an unwritten rule, and I don't think it's that widespread. I don't think it's super common at all. Okay. Random and weird question: why isn't Kendo a popular sport? Excuse me. Kendo is a pretty popular sport in Japan. Actually, it's the most popular Budo, the most popular martial art in Japan. Outside of Japan, it's not so popular, of course. A couple of reasons. 1, very little's known about it. 2, it's very... I think it's hard to adapt to the Kendo mindset for Westerners, which I think is one of the reasons that it doesn't become more popular. In the West, at least. And obviously it appears expensive to get into. So, and obviously I think there's other reasons as well. People don't like things that hurt, that smell, that look funny. Lots of people are embarrassed. People don't like being barefoot, stuff like that. Does karate footwork work in Kendo? Nope. Hi. The reason I'm saying that, I don't know what karate footwork is. Well, Kendo footwork is Kendo footwork, and I don't particularly care if it is similar to any other footwork from any other activity. Kendo footwork is Kendo footwork. Kendo is Kendo, and you can't bring stuff from outside into Kendo. Do Kendo as Kendo, and don't try to hybridize it with other things. It doesn't work. It isn't appropriate. All right, you have it a lot. Lots of people come to Kendo. Oh, I've done this martial art. I've done that martial art. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you've done badminton, chess, taekwondo, skydiving, whatever. It doesn't matter what you've done. None of it matters because there's only Kendo in Kendo. All right, unless it's EI, then it's a problem. That was a joke. Said it on purpose as a reference to a previous video where I said that it was difficult to teach people who've got EI experience. So it was only half a joke because I really kind of meant that. Anyway, hi Sensei, I hope all is well. A couple of questions this week. One, if you have to cut your main himo to 40 centimeters, what do you do to keep them from fraying? You need to watch my video. Is there a correct way to set down your shinai and bokken when you kneel? Like, should the string be pointing towards you or away from you? Or the blade of the bokken? Thank you. Okay, so about the himo, go up to the search bar after you finish watching this and type the Kendo show, shorten himo. And I teach you in that video, it's only a short video, how to cut the himo and then tie it so that they won't fray. It's very, very easy. Okay, it's not difficult. But if you watch the video, it's only a short one of how to cut the himo and how to tie them up so that they don't fray anymore. And you'll be able to do that. And about setting the shinai and bokken down when you kneel, should it be pointing towards or away from you or the blade of the bokken? Okay, so generally, this is funny actually because I just had a quick look in this book and it's on here, but it doesn't actually say about which way the shinai should face. But the general consensus is usually the blade should be facing towards you. Okay, so that means that the string of the shinai should be facing away from you. Generally, okay, if that makes sense. Number 2, in the Bokuto Waza Keigo number 2, Renzoku Waza Kote Men, the motodachi opens men and then comes under the kakarite's bokken. I think you mean opens kote, yeah, and then comes under the bokken to open for the men. When you're doing kihon in bogu at speed, does this motion remain the same, or does the entire waza set happen on the kote opening side? If you're doing the large swings, definitely, especially with a step back, you should open kote men. Kote men. You should open that way. If it's a small one, pam like that, you might not have time to do it. In which case, it's reasonably okay to receive on the kote opening. But when possible, you should receive kote men. So you should try to do the same way when possible, but not to, you shouldn't be so rigid to the adherence of that you end up smacking the kakite as you try and whip the shinai across. Yeah? Okay, next one. How strict are the minimum times to hold rank before testing for the next one? I asked because the shinsu in my area usually occur in April and October, but due to delays from COVID, I attained my nidan in early December. Would I be able to go for sandan at an October test after a year and 10 months, or do I need to wait till the following April? Okay, so as it stands in general, you're allowed to go for the grade in the same month that you took the grade. So say you took the grade on like the 31st of December. Not sure why you'd be doing a grading then, but let's just say you did. Then from the 1st of December, from the year that you are eligible, you would be able to do at any point in December. As a general rule, if you took the test in December and then you took your nidan in December, right? Then the not the following, but the October after, you would not be eligible from a general point of view. Okay. It might be that your federation will allow you to. You could ask them because there was a delay from the sort of extenuating circumstances. It's worth asking them. but I wouldn't necessarily expect a yes. It's most likely you'll have to wait for the following April. All right. It's annoying. It's annoying, but it is what it is. Hi Andy, I often see valid men strikes in Shiai, but the left foot doesn't touch the foot. I think you mean the right foot. When the Shinai hits the target, this isn't obviously kentai ichi, but a scored ippon. I think the judges can hear the difference of both sounds. So why is it ippon? I love this one. I actually replied to this on the group. Because I think this is one of the biggest, possibly one of the biggest misnomers in all of Kendo. Not all of Kendo, but it is a big one. It is a big misnomer, and that is the sort of concept of what kentai ichi or kentai noichi is. Let me see if I can get up a picture that we can look at. So I've got this picture up here. This is from the All Japan Kendo Federation from the last All Japan Championships. I think this is the final win in Ippon. So as we can see, what we're talking about is where the Shinai is in contact with the men, but the right foot is not yet in contact with the floor. This, as I say, this is probably one of the biggest misunderstandings of Kendo, I think, certainly outside of Japan, in that the right foot has to stamp at the same time as the Shinai makes contact with the bogu. That isn't what kentai noichi is. Okay, it doesn't say that anywhere in the criteria for kentai noichi. It says that the sword, body, and spirit should be unified into a strike. That means that you leap forward and strike with the full spirit. Doesn't mean that the right foot has to precisely hit the ground at the same time as the Shinai makes contact with the bogu. It means that the action of the Fumikomi isn't that. It's bam. Yeah, both leaping from the left. Leaping from the left as you leap forward to strike. The stamp on the ground is kind of a side effect. And I think there's an overemphasis on the term Fumikomi as well, because that's the obvious part of the process that makes a loud noise. But it's as much about Fumikiri, which is a launch from the left leg. That's as much as part of the whole process of kentai no ichi, yeah. So that leap forward as you strike with your spirit, that all has to be unified, and it's obvious that in strikes that are made in the finals of the All Japan Championships, that those strikes are a cohesive, unified strike. Okay, it's not that. Basically, kentai no ichi does not mean you have to stamp your right foot on the floor as you strike the Shinai against the bogu. That is not what it means, right? It's not what it means. It means you launch you forward into a strike made with Fumikomi. You make a strike with the Shinai with full spirit. And when this is done correctly, as can be seen at several levels of Kendo, when it's done well, let's say top level high schools, top level children's, top level university, All Japan's, 8th dans, yeah, gradings as well as Shiai. When that's done, if you look at it in slow motion, obviously the process, you're leaping forward with your body and you're striking with the Shinai, and the process of striking with the Shinai is a somewhat faster movement than the leap, right? So in general, the Shinai arrives at the target before your Fumikomi lands on the floor, because you're still in the process of leaping forward to make the strike. The Fumikomi acts as a point to pick up after the strike, yeah, so that you can retain momentum. So we're not just striking on the spot. That's why we don't really use the Suriashi that much. When striking, we use a Fumikomi so that we can leap forward and retain momentum. The Fumikomi is probably more important to the process of what happens after the Shinai has made contact with the bogu. So that's why it comes slightly after. All right. So in very, 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 very slow motion, broken down into milliseconds, the Shinai hits, then the foot lands. Yeah. That's generally the pattern. So it obviously is kentai noichi. That's my point, okay? And I'm not sort of picking on you here because it is misunderstood and it's mistaught very much. I was taught the same, especially outside of Japan, okay? The stamp does not happen at the same time as the shinai connects with the bogu every single time. Sometimes it does, but usually it doesn't, okay? The point I'm making is the strike and the right foot hitting the floor being synchronized is not a criteria of kentai noichi. I hope that makes sense. I've only one question this week about the distance between your feet. Some video says in Kamai feet should be apart like shoulder width, about 3 fists. But some video says feet should be 1 fist apart. So what is the distance between your feet, or it depends on the situation? One more question. Can I put palm size metal stickers on my door? Right. The width at which your feet should be in Kamai should be about shoulder width, but it should be about like a natural, comfortable width. All right. 1 fist is probably too narrow, let's be honest, for most people. Okay. It should be a comfortable sort of shoulder width, I think. About putting stickers on your door, ask your sensei first. I probably wouldn't. But ask. Good morning, Future Sensei. How are you? I'm good, except for this sort of blocked up nose, which is sort of doing. It's not even blocked. It's like in the back here somewhere, and it's really affecting my voice. So I'm really sorry that I sound super annoying. I'm getting annoyed at the sound of my voice. So sorry for you guys. Also, there's some weird lighting stuff going on today. So this video is probably getting like brighter and darker and all sorts of weird stuff going on, but I'm sure you'll forgive me. On the weekend, I entered my 5th Shiai, and this time as a club team member. Okay, good. During one of my matches, I was a Senpo, and my opponent was the Taisho. My teammate suggested that I should try not to lose. Okay, how does that work then? How could you be the Senpo and then be the Taisho? I don't think that's right. Anyway, when I entered the Shiai, I could only think of one thing, that was the attack is the best defense. As he was the Taisho, I gave everything, but that didn't really help because he got 2 bonds pretty quickly. As this tournament, I realized that I've never really considered the different positions in a team event and what my expected role would be. Up until now, most of my kendo has been to attack. For example, I mostly attack with men and kote. I have almost no oji waza. After the tournament, Sensei suggested we practice 3 to 4 oji waza. Okay, I think if I had a couple of good oji waza, that these could have been used as part of my strategy when trying to not lose a point for our team. Sensei, can you please explain the different roles of being a team member and how the strategy might change depending on such things, points, whether we are winning or losing in the position you are within the team. As always, thank you for Sensei. Okay, so I'm not sure how this works because for usually, all right, the positions of the team, there's 5 positions of the team. You have Senpo is the first one, Jiho the second one, Chuken who's the third one. This is in a 5-person team, of course. Fukusho who's the 4th one, and then Taisho is the 5th one. All right, so it's unlikely the Taisho can fight the Senpo. The one exception to that is in a type of Shiai called Kachinuki, where I'm going to try and get myself back in focus. Called Kachinuki, where the winner basically stays in. There we go. The winner basically stays in. So if the Senpo wins, they go on to fight the Jiho, Chuken, Fukusho, and then the Taisho. So in that case, the Senpo can fight the Taisho. So that would mean in this case, you've already won 4 matches against that same team. I kind of get the feeling from your message that isn't what happened here. So I'm not sure what you mean by Taisho, okay? But the Taisho is the person that plays in the 5th position, or the last position on the team, I should say, rather than the 5th position. In terms of the team positions, the Senpo is the first player is out there to really set the tone of the match, try go out there, get a win, try not to lose. It's not the end of the world if you do lose, but do try and win with 2 points and set the tone, break through the wall, as it were. The Jiho is there to either take the baton, carry on, and if nothing else, at least keep the lead that you've got to pass on to the Chuken, or if the Senpo didn't manage to win, or even worse, lost, try to turn it around. And then the Chuken, the middle player, their job is really quite a tough one. They have got to either seal the deal, right? So without, it depends. There's a lot of situations that can happen. Let's say the Senpo, the first one, and the second one won with 2 points, but it's not over. So if you win with just 1 point, your team wins, okay? Your team wins. So you have to be strategic. But if you lose with 1 point, it could turn the tide, could turn the tables, all right? So you have to be really strategic as the Chuken player. And likewise, if your first 2 players have lost, you've now got the chance to turn things around, okay, and turn it back into a 3-person win. Yeah. So there's that, and then Fukusho again. Their job is to pass the baton on, and depending on the situation, to the Taisho, and the Taisho is there to either finish the deal, as it were, either by taking the victory that's gonna sort of confirm, or even if everyone's won already, or you already got 3 wins, just not do anything unnecessary. Or they might be the person that has to save the day. It might be the person that has to save the day. Which, if you've got 2 wins and 2 losses, which happens a lot. It's the Taisho's job to really turn the tide. So yeah. A question about KendoStar. Do you offer any bogu repair services replacing the tenouchi of worn kote? KendoStar kote. Thank you. PS, I love your company and products. Thank you very much. Amazing quality and service. Thank you. Yeah, we can do it. Get in touch with us, mail at kendostar.com. It's often not really, it depends on what type of kote you've got, but it can often be less economical than replacing the kote. Because we only do the repairing in our workshop in Japan, means we have to get the kote over to Japan, get them repaired in Japan. It's not a cheap thing to do. It's actually quite labor intensive to replace the tenouchi of the kote. It's not a to do it properly. It's not an easy job. And then get them back to you. So obviously with shipping and everything, it can be quite expensive. So it depends on the type of kote, but we can definitely do it. Hello, Sensei. Is it all right to join Kendo sessions to supplement my Kendo training? My Kendo sessions are only on Saturdays, a bit far from home, whereas there's a Kendo dojo a few steps away from my work that hold daily sessions. Thank you. It's a bit hard for me to comment. So I've never been to a Kendo club. My understanding is that it's very, very similar and pretty much the same. I think the best thing to do is talk to your Kendo sensei first, ask him how he feels about it, and then if he or she is fine with that, then you should check out the Kumdo place and speak to the Kumdo place and let them know that you're training Kendo and you're looking to supplement your training. Is that something that they're okay with as well? And potentially it could definitely work. Potentially it could definitely work. It could work. It could work. I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Next one. Now the world is opening up, people can travel to Japan. If they do come and make contact with a dojo and are allowed to practice, 1, should they bring a gift? And 2, what kind of gift should they bring if they bring one? It depends. I think if it's a new dojo you never met before, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily expected, but it's a nice thing to do if you can bring a little gift. It doesn't have to be anything substantial. It can just be a little bit of something, particularly if there's something interesting from your home country. Even if it's just like a bag of like sweets or candies or something like that. Or that sort of thing, like edible stuff is pretty good usually, and something that can be shared amongst lots of people in the dojo. I noticed somebody wrote that they seen gifts given of tenuguri, but don't give out tenuguri, really. I don't think that's a good thing to do necessarily. And tenuguri are usually given out as a commemoration of something rather than as a, what you would say is omiyage, like kind of like a souvenir. Okay. And in honesty, in Japan, people don't place the same, like, what can I say? Like people don't care about tenuguri that much in Japan. Let's put it that way. Like people don't like, you don't like, it's normal in the West for people to have loads of different tenuguri because we like collecting them or like having different designs and stuff. Whereas most Japanese people tend to just care about which one is clean. So yeah, and to hand. In my experience. Anyway, hello, Andy Sensei. Do you have any tips for Suburi with use of a punching bag, both technically and safety-wise? I was wondering as well whether you can make a list of most important or biggest Japanese competitions with kanji names like universities, teaching staff championships, different police competitions and similar. There's a huge language barrier for most of us here, and at some point it becomes hard to find new Shiai videos on YouTube. I feel like it's much, much harder to find women's Shiai as well. I don't know about that. Please tell us more what is out there. I recently started to watch the Gyokuruki as well and noticed some things. So I calculated that most of the participants are second and third dan, and I noticed that they almost exclusively do shikake waza, which is extremely interesting to me because you said several times up to third dan we should normally focus on practicing shikake waza. I hope I remember your words correctly. Other thing is that Gyokuruki Shiai look very different from, let's say, All Japan's. I know the kids are younger and the level is different. What keeps bothering me in my mind, though, is that quite a lot of strikes look as if they were left without Zanshin, and Shiai looks as if both Senshu were trying to brute force break through the Kamai of the opponent and make a strike. But I have to admit, those Shiai are extremely exciting to watch. As a person who is teaching Kendo to high school kids in Japan, what are your thoughts on these? Thank you very much. Okay, so first, using a punching bag. Depends on the type of punching bag. But yeah, I guess you could. But be careful. But I don't see why not. To be honest, it's not really that much different from like hitting a tire or something like that, right? About the different types of Shiai. Let's see, what have we got? We've got like obviously, if you wanted to look up police, you look up the word keisatsu. So you could look at I bet if you search Kendo keisatsu taikai, you get some police videos, I'm sure. I mean, what else did you say? Like university, you could put like Kendo. These are just search things you could put in, right? Maybe is it like a daigaku? I think is the way that you just use it. Or probably daigakusei, maybe it'd be better. Taikai, and it might come up. You search that, you'll get some students tournaments. You could put Kendo Kyoshokuin, which is teachers tournament. Taikai, could try teaching, looking for that. Maybe something will come up. I don't know. It depends what's out there on YouTube. If you look at a lot of the Japanese channels, they do tend to broadcast these. Another one that might come up. I don't know if these things exist, but they seem like they might. Something might come up in the thing. You could just put like Komuin Taikai. Another one that's interesting. Another one I think would be interesting to watch is you could put Kendo Zen Nihon Senshuken. Okay, Zen Nihon Senshuken, right? Yosen or Yosenkai. Yeah, that means the qualifier. Yeah, you could look at that, and you'll get from like more local tournaments from around Japan, which will still be very high level because there'll be like people trying to qualify. All right. About the Gyokuruki, yeah, of course they're all like second or third dan. They're just kids. They're like 15 to 18 years old, right? So they can't be higher graded than that. Some of them are less than that. And the funny thing about the Gyokuruki is there's a massive disparity in level. And it's funny because I didn't realize that when I first saw the Gyokuruki. I was just like in awe of the size of it and the level of all of them there, because even the like I couldn't really tell at that point. So I understand, actually, to be honest, that me saying that might not really mean much about the disparity in level, because when I first saw it, I was like third Dan, and I couldn't really tell the difference between the strong teams and the weak teams, to be honest, like I can now. So, but there is a big disparity between the teams that are a little bit on the weak side and the teams that are really, really strong, because the Gyokuruki is basically an open tournament. You don't have to qualify to get in it. So there is a big sort of level gap. But you will see mainly Shikakewaza. I think you mainly see Shikakewaza in most Shiai, to be honest. Because Ojiwaza are really hard. Ojiwaza is really hard. And especially as you go up the the ranks or the level of Shiai, it becomes even harder because the criteria get a bit stricter. I think you'll probably see more Ojiwaza in the high school Shiai than you do probably in adult Shiai, even, because the kids are so fast and they're so switched on, and they've got such great reflexes, and they've trained their body to the point where, even if they block, even if they weren't intending in the first place to do the Ojiwaza, they kind of automatically will do some sort of Kaishiwaza. So you do see it, and it's awarded a lot, whereas Waza like that is often not awarded for adults. So there's that as well. And I think that's sort of feeds into your next question a bit. I'm not sure there's that many strikes that are awarded that are left without Zanshin, to be honest. I think it might more be that, are you really sure that Zanshin is what you think it is? Let's maybe put it like that. Because I don't think there's a lack of Zanshin in Gyokuruki. Having said that, there's what in recent times, there probably is, from my point of view, what would be considered a bit of a lack of Zanshin, but usually it's enough still for the point to go through because it was a really brilliant point. I think kids these days often tend to be a little bit over celebratory of their points sometimes, and they can be sometimes too quick to dismiss their kamae, but they do at least generally take it. So I think there's enough to say it's Zanshin. And yeah, of course they're using brute force or speed to try and break the kamae and make a strike. They're just kids. They don't really know much else. They haven't developed the maturity yet to really be able to make more in-depth semi. Though it's not to say that it doesn't exist, because it does. They certainly do have semi, and there's lots of types of semi as well. There's not just one type of semi. There's lots of types, including using the shinai in lots of different ways to feint and to throw the opponent off in various ways. I think if you watch the highest levels of the Gyokuruki, like the last rounds, the final day, it's usually really, really good level of kendo. I wouldn't be particularly critical of any of it. I don't necessarily like some of the attitude on the shiaijo of some of the kids, like I say, these days, but that's probably me just being a bit of an old fuddy-duddy. But the overall level of it's brilliant, and there's some fantastic ippons to watch. I much prefer high school kendo to university kendo, actually. I hardly watch university kendo at all. I don't really like university level kendo all that much. I tend to enjoy watching the high school kids the most, and not the most, but them, and then the adults, like the police, all Japan level stuff is what I tend to watch. I kind of skip the university bit. It's a bit sort of, I don't like it that much. I won't go into too many reasons why, but I think the kids are a little bit annoying. It's an annoying stage of life, innit, when you're like that age. You know what I mean? It's like a cringe stage of life, so and it kind of comes out in their kendo. It's not to say there isn't some fantastic matches that happen though. Hey Sensei, just wondering if you sell bogus stands on KendoStar. I couldn't seem to find any. If you don't, do you think KendoStar will ever sell them? We can get them, so send us an email. I don't have them live on the website at the minute because the supply of them is erratic, to say the best. So then they're not something that we can just keep in stock all the time, because the supply of them is a little bit. Sometimes we can get them, sometimes it takes a few weeks. So send us an email, we'll sort you out. All right. Okay, next one. Hello, Fish Sensei. I hope you're doing well. I noticed during the kata demonstration at the recent All Japan Championships that during the initial tachiai portion, instead of a simple turn and place the bow to shomen, both Tani Sensei and Matsuda Sensei turn their swords around so that the sky's facing behind them and then take several steps forward and bow to the shomen. I believe I've seen this way of holding the katana, bokuto, iaido in iaido context. I don't do iaido, but at least I think I've seen it. The explanation that was very polite or non-threatening way to hold the iaido. But I don't recall ever seeing it as part of the kendo kata. I went back to see some videos, other demonstrations at previous All Japan Championships, and the bow to shomen has not performed in this way in any of them. Do you know if it's a new direction from the AJKF or ZNKR? Was it a one-off thing that perhaps Tani Sensei or Matsuda Sensei decided to do? I thought it was very interesting. I'm curious we'll see it again. My best to you and your family this holiday season. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. So yeah, I went and looked at that video. I hadn't seen that. I hadn't noticed that. But yeah, they sort of before the they put down the kotachi, and then they move up to the position, and then they turn towards the shomen, and then they change the way they're holding the sword so that the blade is facing away and the sky is behind them. Like you say, I have seen that before in an iaido context, and I think it is like a very passive way or something of holding the sword. And then they walk forward and they do a day towards the where the camera is, which I assume is the shomen. It almost looks as if they're doing it towards a specific person or area, rather than to the shomen as a whole, because then they go back and then they perform the normal, they return the swords to the normal place, and then they do their bow to the shomen and to each other as you normally would. So I've got a feeling that's a one-off thing, and I'm not sure why. All right, I'm not sure why. I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't know if there was someone specific there, that a person of importance that they were doing that for, or whether that's something they're going to carry on doing from now on. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's obviously new because actually if you watch it, you can tell that both the senseis are not entirely familiar with it as well. Not a criticism, of course, just obvious from observation. But it is interesting. Very well noticed. I couldn't tell you why that is. I'd be interested if anybody else does know. Next one. Hello, I'm hoping you can answer this because you run KendoStar. I have a 10-year-old bogu set that I'd rather refurbish and repair than replace. Where can I do so in the UK? I want to replace kote palms mainly, but also make the kit look fresh and new, repair friction damage on the cloth, and replace worn-out bits, maybe even re-dye. I'm searching online. I found some services in Japan, US, and Canada, but the cost of sending the set there and back alone is prohibitive. I've already done my own DIY kote repairs using synthetic leather on top of the holes in real leather, and it's holding really well. It's just unsightly. It's difficult. We don't do repair in-house in the UK. All right, we can organize repairs for you, but it means you send in the bogu to Japan, as you said, and we can organize it for you. No problem. We can do all those things. But to my knowledge, there's no repair service based in the UK. A lot of the repairs you could do yourself, to be honest. You know, especially if you're not necessarily bothered about them being exactly to the same level as a professional craftsman, and you can re-dye it, and we can help you get the dye to re-dye it. That's not a problem at all. But yeah, actually getting it repaired by a craftsman, yeah, it's gonna have to go to Japan, I'm afraid. If you want help with that, get in touch. Why don't you get some of those little mini envelope opener size shinai to explain concepts of kendo RANT instead of pens or your fingers? I'd be surprised if you did not have some laying around your house already. Production quality, man. Really, just a suggestion disguised as a question. All the best, Sensei. You could even sell them on a certain website. We actually do already sell the mini shinai. I know exactly the ones you mean. And yeah, I could do that, couldn't I? Or I could just carry on using my fingers, which I quite like doing. Yeah, man. It's a bit more fun. Or pens. I'll think about it. Hello, Andy. I've been using the Myrmidon bogu set since September, and I love it. Good. I've gotten questions about it and recommended it to a couple of beginners in our dojo. The one thing I'm struggling with is getting stuck with the octopus look on the mendare. The tackle men, yeah? I know I'm tying everything correctly, and the knot in the back is at eye level, but even after my first set of kirikaishi, it loses the look, and I'm constantly readjusting them to make them face forward during practice. I want to know how I can get that look and mold it to say how it is. Should I be stowing it in a certain way, or is there a men from a different KS bogu set that work better? Thank you. So no, it's not the men, because I have a Myrmidon men, and it doesn't look like an octopus. What the octopus is, right? It's called the tako men because it looks like a cartoon octopus. Yeah, when you're wearing it, when the mendare are like kind of like this instead of like this. Yeah. So it's partly how you're tying it. I'm sorry, but it is. And secondly, yeah, it needs a little bit to mold. All right. So for a little while, as long as you tie it in the right place, keep molding it throughout your practice. Keep doing that. And then when you finish practice, take it home, get out of the bogu bag, tie it as if you're wearing it. All right. Tie it as if you're wearing it, and then put it down on like a table or a flat surface and mold the mendare to the shape that you want to. There's people that like tie the mendare up and stuff like this to mold them. You don't need to do that. You absolutely don't need to do that. You can just, if you leave it on a flat place facing up with the mendare up, and then mold the mendare into that sort of curled shape, it will retain the shape, all right? And then just make sure when you're putting it in your bogu bag, you don't put it in with the mendare like facing flat or just facing sideways, yeah? Curl them forward towards the mendare as you put it in your bogu bag as well, all right? So it's how you're storing it and how you're transporting it, all right? It will help. Okay, you don't need a different men for it. That men is definitely easily shapeable into that position. My understanding of Kendo Waza, Bokuto ni yoru Kihon Waza Keikoho, is that they were introduced as a teaching aid and as such should be directly applicable in Shinai Kendo. However, I cannot imagine a situation in which someone will be able to perform the 9th Waza, Uchiotoshi Waza, in Shiai. Have you ever seen anything like that actually performed in the wild? Yeah. Uchiotoshi Waza is really, really useful. It's just not that often done against do, and especially not from the Fumikomi do, right? But it is a useful waza. If we're talking about do Uchiotoshi men, it can be used often against the hikido. So from Subazuriai, they do the hikido, bam, bam. That's quite useful. But the most common use of Uchiotoshi Waza by far is kote Uchiotoshi men, also known as aigote men, all right? Aigote men and kote Uchiotoshi men are the same waza, okay? In fact, technically the correct term for it is kote Uchiotoshi men, all right? So when they do kote, you do kote men, and your kote strike acts as an Uchiotoshi waza, okay? So it is a very, very useful technique, and it's very, very, it's not very common, but it's pretty common and pretty useful, all right? It just doesn't necessarily look exactly like it does in the Kihon. Next one. Hello Andy, I hope you're doing well. What's the best way to work out hesitation? My strikes are getting better, but I keep pausing right before I should strike. I know I should stop thinking about it and just throw it, but I can't seem to get over it. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, 2 things. 1, kakarieko. Kakarieko will definitely help, and uchikomi too, but definitely kakarieko. And 2, practice with senseis as much as you can. Okay, practice with the high level teacher, and accept that they will strike you and they will counter your strikes, all right? And then throw your strikes at them anyway, with the knowledge that they will be unsuccessful, okay? And then you'll be able to be free yourself of the desire to make the strike successful and be able to throw the strike instead, honestly, with full commitment, okay? Commitment to the actual strike. Okay, last one. It's a long one, so let's get to it. Hello, Fish Sensei. Hope you and yours are well. Context, I'm a beginner, recently returned after 12-year absence, just in armor. KendoStar bogu, of course, good. I have a couple of questions and queries about Kamai. Having listened to both you and my sensei about Jodan no Kamai, would it be right to say that we should think of it as an active state when standing still, even when standing still? It's not just a stance we take. There's a feeling of forward movement with intent. Sorry, currently lack the vocabulary to express this thought correctly. 2, I will preface this by saying we are all doing Kendo regardless of rank. Again, having listened to you and other sensei, would you say that generally up to and including a 3rd Dan, these ranks are a prep for learning Kendo like an apprenticeship? The reason I ask this is because I've heard sensei say that their understanding of things like seme changed, like a bit of an epiphany type thing. Again, it's all Kendo. I'm not trying to denigrate people's hard work. It's just how I've been thinking recently. Thanks for taking the time. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I really do get a lot out of the different types of video that you post. Oh, good. Especially the feedback videos. Good. Hopefully I'll be brave enough to send one someday. Good. Also, my Vanguard Myrmidon is excellent. The men especially comfortable, protective. Good, 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 good. Sorry, I am losing my voice now. Right. So about Kamai. Yeah, I'd pretty much agree with that mostly. I wouldn't say there's always a feeling of forward movement with intent, but Kamai is the preparedness to respond to the opponent at all times. All right. It's not just a stance where you put your right foot in front, your left foot behind, hold the shinai out in front. That's not really kamae, right? That's an aspect of it. That's the migamae, the kamae of the body. But part of the kamae is the kigamae, the kamae of the spirit, so that you are actually switched on. It doesn't have to always be a feeling of forward movement. It can be in all directions. Yeah. Sometimes you withdraw to invite, and you can do the Ojuwaza or Debano Waza, all these different things. But yeah, it's always an active state. Yeah, it's not just holding the shinai. And about the rank, I think that's a pretty good way of putting it. Yeah, probably up to third dan is a good way to think of it as an apprenticeship. You don't really, and there'll be people that are upset about this. And if you told me this when I was third dan or second dan, I'd have been upset. But yeah, I've described it before a bit like the sort of end game. You know, like in video games, like modern video games, you have to like complete the story before you actually access the end game features, like the proper, like, and that's when the real game begins. Like a lot of these online games, you've got to go through the first bit, and then there's the sort of end game, and that's where things sort of open up. And I think that's what happens with up to third dan. Your first to third dan are your sort of story mode, or your preamble to Kendo. And once you get to fourth dan, that's when things really start to open up, because the first to third dan are solely based on technical ability. Okay, are you technically proficient in the technical aspect of Kendo? After that, then we start looking at the real concepts. All right, okay, now you're prepared. You have the tools to really begin your Kendo journey. So yeah, I kind of like the idea of it being a sort of apprenticeship. I think that's a good way to put at it. Yeah, to put it. Okay, and I'm glad you like the videos. It'd be great if you send the videos in for feedback. I've got a couple on the list to do as well, so there'll be more of those coming soon. I've got more videos of other topics coming as well. I'm sorry for my voice once again today, with me being all sort of blocked up. Should be fine by next week. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to shop at KendoStar, like, share, subscribe. Thank you for the questions. See you next week. Bye-bye.